Herzlich willkommen, ihr wissensdurstigen Hörerinnen und Hörer, zu eurem Lieblingspodcast Studieren ist sexy. Dem Podcast, der dir zeigt, dass Wissen nicht nur Macht ist, sondern auch verdammt verführerisch sein kann. Von Geheimtipps für die perfekte 1-0 in Prüfungen bis hin zu legendären Abschlussarbeiten, die sogar die Dozenten alt aussehen lassen. Neue Folgen erwarten dich immer Montagmorgens. Der einzige Grund, warum Montage plötzlich sexy werden. Bist du nun bereit für deine intellektuelle Verführung? Dann schnapp dir jetzt deine Kopfhörer und lass dich in die sinnliche Welt des Studierens entführen. Und hier ist dein charmanter Gastgeber, der Casanova des Campus, Alles Andi.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Studieren is sexy. This time is going to be another episode in English. Don't worry, we are going to speak slowly and easily for you. I'm going to have a lovely, great guest for today. It's Thresy. Oh yes, I pronounced it almost right. An hot Indian girl. I'm so excited that she's going to join me for today's session. Thresy, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Lovely. I love to hear that. You know, in this podcast, we usually start with kind of a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
I would call it like, just imagine you're on the way to work in the subway, for example. Next to you, an old grandma, and you suddenly start talking to each other, and the grandma asks you, hey, Thresy, what did you study and why?
Okay.
And I want the whole story.
Mhm.
And you can start not from the birth, that's quite a little bit early, but you know.
Okay. It's an interesting story. Growing up, I always thought I wanted to become a doctor. And of course, my parents are Indian and they loved the idea. So they always encouraged me to do that.
Mhm.
But when I was in high school, I realized that I really enjoyed studying math. I might have not been the class topper, but I liked the time that I spent learning the subject. And I
Mhm.
thought that it is something that I could do for a long time in comparison to learning biology, because even though I liked the subject, it was a little too much of by hearting. So you have to remember a lot of things rather than understand how things work.
Mhm.
So I decided that I wanted to study math. And of course, this disappointed my parents a little bit. But my parents were also very clear that if I like something, I should pursue it, because that way you would do the best that you can do. And for them, it was always have a single plan so that you can focus on it. And I decided that that was more important for me. So I studied math in university, both my bachelor's and my master's.
And where exactly did you study that?
So I did my bachelor's in India in St. Stephen's College in Delhi.
Mhm.
And during my bachelor's, honestly, I never thought I would do my master's because it was nothing like what I had thought it would be.
Mhm.
At the end of 3 years, I realized how much I liked building, thinking about the world and the application of math in it. So I decided I wanted to do applied mathematics. And this was not so popular in India because India focuses a lot on pure mathematics. So I found the Erasmus Mundus course called Math Mods, which is mathematical modeling. And I decided to apply for it because all the subjects in it that we would learn seemed very interesting. So I did not exactly have a plan of what I wanted to do after that, but I just liked the subjects and I thought I could continue learning it that way.
Mhm. Just for my listeners, because and also I'm very excited to learn more about it. How is the Indian school system? Because in Germany, just briefly, we go to primary school just for 4 years. Then it's going to decide either you go to the lowest class, the middle class, and the highest. You mean the level, and
Mhm.
only from the highest level you're allowed to study afterwards. So,
Mhm.
how is it over there in India?
So in India, you have kindergarten for 2 years, after which you do schooling for 10 years. And
Mhm.
here you learn more general subjects. So you learn science, social studies, so that would be geography, um, and math and English, and maybe some languages if you like it.
Mhm.
And at after the 10th year, you have like this big exam that you write. And it's also a point where you decide what kind of career you want to take up. So you can either go into science, which would mean you learn more of physics, chemistry, and you'll focus on just the science subjects.
Mhm.
And or you can do commerce, where you focus only on the commerce subjects, and or you can do humanities, which is also something another option. So you essentially after the 10th year you focus on something in particular, and that you do for 2 years, after which
Mhm.
you also have a big exam, and then you go to university based on your marks for this exam. So the better universities need people with higher marks and etc. But you can also buy like a seat in India.
Oh,
So
of
if
course.
parents are rich.
Money is always a key.
Yes. And also in India, you have to pay for your education. So it's not like in Germany where education is free.
Oh, you mean if I want to go to the school for 10 years, my parents have to pay during this period?
Yes. Or you
Oh,
can go to a government school, but it's that's an option which will be much cheaper.
mhm.
But there are a lot of private schools in India, even more private and expensive schools as well. That's also an option. But throughout, if you ever go for education, you have to pay for it.
Mm. And of
Yes.
course, as better the school and the system and the teachers, as better you're gonna learn, and it goes on and on and on, right?
Yes. And even when I came to Germany or to Europe in general, I actually had to pay for my education. So it's only the Europeans who get it for free.
Of course, we spoiled little pigs. So, why did you decide from India? It's I'm not that good in geographics, but it's quite far away. So,
Mhm.
why did you decide to go to Germany, not to Italy, France, America, whatever?
No, actually, when I did the Erasmus course, I
Mhm.
spent 1 semester in Italy, 1 semester in Germany, and a whole year in France. So I did a little bit of traveling when I was studying.
Mhm.
And after that, it was all about finding a job. And Germany had a bigger market for English speaking jobs.
Mhm.
So I naturally ended up in Germany for my job. And after I came here, I realized that the working conditions are so good that you do not want to leave.
Understandable. We
Work
have
life balance.
free fruits in the office, free drinks, coffee. Understandable.
And even you work 40 hours a day, usually.
40.
40 hours a day. But like in India, you there is no time limit to how many hours. Sorry, 40 hours a week. My bad.
A week, hours. Please, if you have the option to raise your limit of hours per day, tell me how. 24 is not enough for me.
No, you need to have long days. I'm sure all corporate companies would really want that too.
Mm,
But yeah, you don't have a time limit. You work until there is work to do. There is no even during your vacation, you have to sometimes answer calls or meetings. So here there's a lot more balance and there are more rights for employees. So that's really good.
a friend of mine moved to India to work there, and she told me like some employees just stay at the office because they just to be there, and there's not even work, but everybody stays as long as their supervisor stays, and then a little bit longer because it's just the culture there. And she was the first worker like, I'm done. I'm going home. And everybody was confused like hell. What's wrong with this lady?
Yeah, because you need to really like make your supervisor happy and show them that, you're willing to dedicate your entire life to your career and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have anything else to do than to work. That's what is important for an employer. I mean,
Of
I
course.
think that would be the case for a lot of corporates all over the world, but it's a government that protects you, which is important. Also, I
Mm-hmm.
think even a company themselves mm, understand that when you give people a work life balance, they're actually more efficient and more productive and then they stay, they're more loyal as well.
Mm-hmm.
The thing in India is like if you are unwilling to do the job, they can find 100 other people who can do your job.
Of course. That makes pressure as well, right?
Yes. So then over here, on the other hand, there is a shortage of labor, which is the reason why it makes it much easier for people from abroad to come and settle down.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you're high qualified, high schooled, and that's also, then you get easily a job over here.
Exactly. And in India, it's very basic that you go to undergrad and very often even masters. And it's sometimes not even related to what you end up doing because you could, a lot of people go and get an engineering degree and maybe after that do something completely different, or they become a doctor and they do something completely different. So it's very essential to have a basic degree,
Mm-hmm.
and after that, you can do whatever you want. You can become a photographer, an artist, an influencer, whatever you want to be. But
Mm.
having an engineering degree is important.
It looks nice on the paper. I'm an engineer. I'm a doctor.
Yeah, but sometimes it's important also because in India we have the arranged marriage culture and
Mm.
you increase your value and your worth by having more education. So you're an
Mm.
educated person.
What is smart is being sexy. Please let us go back to studying. So
Mhm.
you said you studied math. That's not a typical subject for ladies, I would call it over here in Germany. If you go
Uh-huh.
to a math lecture, they are probably 95% boys and
Mhm. Yeah.
5% vegetables and no girls. I'm just kidding. Um, so, uh, how how was it over there?
In India,
Yes.
actually, it was quite surprising for me, but in my bachelor's, we had not a very big difference between the number of men and women. We kind of had it almost equal, which
Interesting.
was quite interesting. So it was not like I was in a class full of boys. There were almost the same number of girls. So I never felt that way. But when I came to Europe, it was a little bit more different. There were fewer women. But I think, unlike an engineering degree, math has more women as compared to engineering, of course.
Mhm. How does it work over there? You have probably during your studies some subjects. You have to write exams, do some papers, and in the end, you have to write your final bachelor thesis. Is it over there like this? A little?
No.
No?
So when I did my bachelor's, I didn't do engineering, so I did a bachelor's in mathematics. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to write a thesis in your undergrad. You just have exams twice a year, and you
Mm-hmm.
need to pass each of these exams in order to get your last degree. It's
Oh,
only in your master's level that you have to write a thesis. I mean, because
okay.
also the classes are much bigger, like there are at least 30, 40 people in each class. And a professor would teach both a bachelor's and a master's. So it would be quite difficult to have someone, um, be your supervisor even at the bachelor's level. So at masters, it's a smaller class. Not everyone would go for a master's.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to assign a supervisor. At least that's what I feel.
Mm-hmm. So, um, when you then you just for me,
Mhm,
you had your some subjects and you write
mhm,
your exams two
mhm,
times a year.
mhm.
Then in the end, you passed all of them, and then you get your final grade.
Yes.
Then that's it. Then you're a bachelor. So are the most of them are the normal typical writing exams or group work presentations in the bachelor?
In the bachelor's, it is usually written exams
Hmm.
on the university level. And sometimes, if you are doing a science subject, such as chemistry, for instance, you
Hmm.
would have a practical exam where you're expected to maybe do some sort of an experiment. And a practical exam is usually accompanied by an oral exam. So while you're doing your practical, you'll have this professor who would come and ask you questions about what you're doing to
Hmm.
ensure that you have a clear understanding of your practical work as well as your written work.
Hmm. But I think the mature is the normal, typical study all the papers, all the slides, and then write an exam about it and forget it.
Yes, exactly.
All righty, lovely, lovely. Just is it all in English? Is it in Indian? Oh my goodness, that's embarrassing. I'm just a stupid golden doodle.
No, everything is in English, actually. Um, I don't know of a university in India that teaches in an Indian language, but everything I know is always in English. Even your entrance exams are all in English.
Ooh.
So we are educated in English since kindergarten, and
Uh-huh.
we take our mother tongues as a second or third language in school.
Oh, do you talk in English at home or in your mother tongue?
I mean, it depends. So usually when I call my parents when I'm here, I usually speak in English. But when I'm at home, sometimes I speak in my mother tongue itself because you get used to being there.
Mm-hmm.
But my family is also a little mixed. So my aunts are not from the same place that I am from. So they
Mm-hmm.
speak a different Indian language. So in order for everyone to understand each other, it just makes sense to speak in English.
Ooh.
So growing up, my cousins never spoke my mother tongue. They understand, but they don't speak. So we just used to speak in English with them. And so we got used to speaking in English.
I love it. And here over in Germany, everybody's like, I don't want to speak English.
I get it. After I came to Europe, that was something I learned to appreciate your language and to speak it more because people are so proud of it. And that's something I think I've learned here.
So you speak a little bit German?
Ein bisschen.
Ein bisschen. I love it. Alrighty. Let's go back to studying in India. How much roundabout does it cost to get a bachelor over there? Just make a little calculation.
Okay.
What could you
If you're
imagine?
talking about just the tuition fee, it would depend on what kind of university you go to. So
Mm-hmm.
I did my bachelor's from a government university.
Mm-hmm.
So it was much cheaper. So I would say maybe one year, which consists of 2 semesters,
Mm-hmm.
would come to around 800 to 900 euros.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So and then three, 6 semesters or 7 or 8. How much do you have?
6 semesters.
6. Then it's approximately 2,500 to 3,000 euros in your
Yeah.
case.
But if I'm thinking, this would include if you're staying on. So I stayed on campus for 2 years. So in the hostel within the university. So everything was put together. And so they give you food, they give you stay, everything. It's not actually that expensive. But if you go to a private university, it is very, very expensive.
Of course, like in Germany.
Yes.
So, but for us, three, for us in Germany, 3,000 euros for school or education. It's not that expensive, but compared with the normal salary in India, I think it's quite a lot of money for the most of the people over there, right?
Yes, it is quite a lot of money, but it also includes your food and stay. So that is a big benefit, but it is definitely not cheap. That's why it's not easy to get an education in India if you are not a little bit in the middle class at least,
Mm-hmm.
or you
And,
should have a scholarship.
and that's only possible if you're very, very good, or you have, we call it vitamin B connections, probably, right?
The population of 1.2 billion people competing for a scholarship is very, very difficult.
Of course, I can understand.
You have to be out of this world.
Mm.
Yeah.
And your master, how much did that cost?
Ooh, that cost me a lot of money.
So I'm bankrupt.
Almost. I would say I spent about 25K in euros. But that included everything for me. So it included a tuition fee. It included like my rent, a monthly rent in all these different places. So it would change. It included all my food. Plus, I did a really cool Euro trip in 2017. And I visited quite a lot of countries. And I think even though, yes, I spent a lot of money and I'm still paying it off right now, I would never have done that right now when I'm working and I have more money to do it. That was the time when I could, and I'm kind of glad I did it. So even though it was expensive, yeah, I think it was worth it.
It's always the problem. Either you don't have the money, but you have the time, or other way around, you have the money, but you don't have the time.
Exactly. It never aligns.
Just let's talk about this especially master. Are there only Indian people or people from all over the world in your class?
No, there are people from all over the world. So in my first semester, we were a class of maybe 60 people. So it was two different programs. They have the same first semester. So we have about 60 people, but my program alone was about maybe 30 of them. And my program was Erasmus is an international thing. So you have people from literally all over the world, like Cuba, Iran, Pakistan, any country you can name. And the other course was a little bit more European focused. It was more Polish, German, Czech people in this course who wanted like an exchange semester kind of a thing. So it was a very, very, and in among the 30 people, there were 3 Indians. So it's a very mixed crowd. And I liked that about it.
Especially, when you get all these different cultures surrounded by, it's pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yes, you learn a lot. I think the difficult part, though, is sometimes initially understanding people. But then you start getting used to their accents. Like, I'm pretty sure it took you a while to even understand me in the beginning.
Oh, honestly, yes. But, I practice a lot with the Big Bang Theory in English,
Raj is very helpful.
Exactly. All right. Wasn't it difficult to decide already? I'm going to leave my home country, my family, and I know that family for you is very important. And to say, all right, I'm going to do this master's, going overseas and have this great experience. How was that?
I think it was not too difficult because in the beginning, to explain, I did my bachelor's in Delhi, which is quite far away from my hometown. So as soon as I turned 18, I left home. And at that point, I was really excited about leaving home because I lived all my life there. So going from Delhi to a to Europe was not so different in terms of being away from my family.
Mhm.
But yes, the ease of getting back to them was a little bit of a problem. When I first applied and actually arrived in Italy, it didn't hit me that I was leaving my parents, because this is an embarrassing story, but I'm going to say it.
Oh, yes, I love that.
So when I applied for my master's, I was going through a bad breakup and I just wanted to get out of the city. But I just found this course and I really liked the subjects. I applied for it. I wasn't expecting to get in. And then everything just fell into place. And while I was leaving, my family was so excited because I was the first one to go abroad to study.
Mhm.
And also going to Europe, I was the first person. So everyone was super excited and I didn't feel it until I landed in Italy. And, I was going to get into the cab and I realized that you said the driving is in the opposite way in Europe as compared to India. And I was like, oh no, I'm in a completely different place. And like I went to the supermarket and I saw that, for instance, in India, you use a dot for the decimal spaces, but in Europe, you use the comma.
Mhm.
And that was so confusing for me because I did not know all these things. So the first week was extremely difficult because I didn't realize what was happening. And it was a big culture shock because I thought everyone in the world spoke English. And I landed in a small village in Italy. So I think it was more of a culture shock for me than missing my family. It was
Mhm.
like just adjusting to the whole difference. And I'd never been abroad before. It was my first time and by myself. So that was a little scary. I always told my parents that they sent me away because they did not like me.
I say the same.
And my dad even offered to send my mother to look after me in the first 2 weeks. And I was like, there's no way I'm making friends if my mother is living with me. So
Hello, that's my mom.
she's looking after me because I'm homesick.
Aw. And how did you overcome this little fear to get to know people, especially in Italy? The most people over there don't even speak proper English, right?
Yeah. I mean, lucky for me, because my course was so international and you had people from all over, everyone was in the same situation as I was. Everyone needed to make a friend. You needed to, build your own support system in this strange new country where you don't speak the language. So once I started making friends and doing fun things, having some adventures, you ease into that life, and I think that's what everyone does, right? Once you get used to it and you develop like a habit or a schedule, then you forget about the fact that things are so different. You get used to it.
Especially you have to push yourself out there, right? Don't
Yeah.
stay in the room. Just call your friends and don't get anybody to know over there, right?
Yeah, you have to keep a completely open mind because
Mhm.
I mean, what is the point of spending so much money and going to another country and missing your family if you're going to not keep an open mind and experience everything? So, and so it's actually quite fun to experience new things and new adventures, and also sometimes fall on your face and embarrass yourself. It's part of the learning process.
Of course it is. But how is it if you know that you're only going to stay there for one semester and then you move to another country and even are all the classmates moving with you or is it going to mix up again?
So in the first semester, we were 60 people with two courses. And in
Mhm.
the second semester, only my course moves to Germany.
Mhm.
That was how it was built, the system. And once after the second semester in Germany, we had a choice to choose from five different universities based on what we wanted to specialize in.
Oh.
So, because I wanted to specialize in finance, I went to the University of Nice in France and I spent, so the first semester in France was more about learning the subject and understanding the application. And the second semester, we did not have any classes. We were only writing our thesis.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What did you write about?
I wrote about volatility modeling for option pricing.
Oh, you're a big trading girl.
No, I don't trade at all, but I like looking at the science of it. I really enjoyed, deriving the whole Black-Scholes model and all those things. I love to do the math of it because it just makes sense. There's a logic that it follows. So I really like just writing the whole theorem and proving the whole thing. In the end, when you prove it, you're just like, yes, I got to the finish line.
You know that the most of the listeners are gonna say, "What is wrong with this lady? How can she like such a thing?"
Yes, there's a very weird, nerdy side to me.
Well, everybody has a weird fetish, I would say. So keep to yours. It's fine.
Yes.
And did you learn then Italian, or you said you moved from Italy to Germany and then?
Mhm. Yes. So, in the first two semesters, it was mandatory for us to learn the language, and you have to pass the exam as well. Of
Oh,
course, the exam is not that difficult. So,
mhm.
in Italy, we had to learn Italian for the first semester, and we also had an oral exam. It was not just a written exam. The
Mm.
oral exam was really difficult.
You have to
But
order a pizza, right?
no, but we lived in a small town, so you have to speak Italian. No one speaks English. Even the basic English, no one speaks. So
Mhm.
you eventually learn like most like how to order pizza or how to pay in a supermarket or how to ask for help. So you learn those things, or to
Mhm.
say that you can't speak Italian, which is still stuck in my head. Io non parlo italiano. So
Oh, very nice. Can you say anything else?
yeah. So you have to do it. In Germany, also, you had to learn German,
Mhm.
A1 level, but it was a little bit more relaxed because, yeah, no, it was in Hamburg, and in Hamburg, you don't actually need to speak German. So it was easier.
I think, yeah, even in the supermarket, the most people know just some words, and then you have your hands and your feet. So you can work with that.
In Germany, the supermarket, all you need to know is mit Karte bitte.
Ah, so true. And then they start talking like, das EC-Gerät ist kaputt, tut mir leid.
I understood that.
Oh, really?
Yes. The machine is kaput.
Exactly. Love it. And after Germany, you moved where?
To France.
To France. And then you also learned a little bit of French. Ah, blah, blah.
Actually, no. So in our third semester, it was not mandatory to learn the language.
Oh.
But I did go for one French class, and it went all over my head, to be honest. I did not understand anything that was going on.
Mhm.
So Italian and German, the good part is that you speak just as the way it is written. So if
Mhm.
you can read, it's actually not too bad. And you learn how to pronounce each letter.
Mhm.
But in French, there are a lot of rules that you need to learn. So, for instance, if a particular letter comes after a vowel, it sounds different and
Mhm.
you have to pronounce it differently. And already I'm very bad at languages, and doing this was way more harder for me. So, after the first class, I gave up. So, I learned no French.
Oh, all right. Now, I think, you speak your mother tongue, you
Mhm.
speak English, you speak a little bit German. I think you speak more than the most people out there.
I speak two Indian languages actually.
Two, of course. I am sorry. Show off.
Of course. I mean, I've lived here 5 years and I can't speak the language. I have to have some excuse for it.
Mm. Are you still practicing German? Could we please cut that out?
That is no. When I was with my boyfriend and his family, I speak with them because they don't speak English at all. So then I would speak. But if I have the choice, I would always prefer English because I can explain myself better. Plus, I embarrass myself a lot when I speak in German. So,
Mm. But I think I heard you talk German, and I think it's pretty good. You find the words, your pronunciation is funny, so that's why I love it.
yeah. But I sometimes also misunderstand people because I don't pay full attention to maybe the smaller words, like the kind in the sentence. So I understand the opposite of what people say. So I think I get a little nervous now.
Well, you're gonna figure it out until it happens, you know. We don't go there, and you understood we go there.
It's a little difficult.
How was it to apply for jobs over in Germany?
The
Is it
first time around,
difficult?
so the first time I applied for jobs was in 2019. And at that time, I think it was a little harder because the number of jobs where the description was in English or they need someone who spoke English without speaking German was very few.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
But in the next time I looked for a job was 3 years after that. And the number of opportunities was so much more. And there was so many more jobs and also in English and that needed you to only speak English. And I found that very interesting because in a matter of 3 years alone, the number of opportunities increased significantly. Even
Mm-hmm.
today, if I look for a job, there are so many opportunities available as compared to a few years back when you have to really, really search for an only English description.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can also tell that the most job descriptions, the most of the time, are in German at the first
Mhm.
place, and then underneath it's in English. And they are saying like, yes, German is not mandatory,
Mhm.
but English it is.
Yes.
And I think,
So,
hmm?
no, go ahead. Sorry.
And I think the most companies out there, I'm not talking about their butcher shop in North Nuremberg with the Sebastian who screams out, "Give me my Fleisch." But you know, in business, for example, in a consultant company and this kind of things,
Mhm.
most people don't even care if you're speaking German or not.
Yes, that's true. I mean, work-wise, I think English is becoming more prominent in most companies here. But I think it still is nice to speak German because for your interaction within the company, it's a nice way of breaking the ice with people. Most people are more comfortable speaking in German. So
Hmm.
very often they say that it's nice if you speak German because you can interact better with your colleagues, which I also agree with because where I work right now, English is the primary language. All communication is in English. But if you speak German, you can develop a better rapport with your colleagues and,
Hmm.
they get you a little bit more. You can get a little closer outside of just being colleagues. You can be friends as well.
How is it for you if you're in a group of people and you know
Mhm.
you're the only English speaker lady, then you probably can tell that sometimes are people scared to talk in English, so they just shut up or they just start to talk to each other in German, and then you're like, you feel kind of separately.
Honestly, if I'm the only English speaking person among a group of Germans, primarily German speaking people, I'm okay with them speaking German
Mhm.
because, I mean, I get it that it's what you're more comfortable with. But if these people do know how to speak English and do it for their work and stuff like that, I know that I would feel a little bit more comfortable if they spoke in English. But at
Mhm.
that point, it's not that I feel bad or excluded. I just think of it as an opportunity to actually learn. So I don't feel uncomfortable. But if I'm at work and the same thing happens, I'm very uncomfortable because I feel like I need to understand what I'm doing more clearly. I need to understand what the context is. So I don't like it when people switch in between to German and then come back to English because I feel like I missed something that might be relevant.
Of course, especially in a meeting, you know.
Yes, exactly. So if it's outside of work, for me, it's more like I just think of it as a learning opportunity.
Mhm. I just want to switch the perspective for a
Mhm.
German speaker who is
Mhm.
scared of talking English, probably to you in the office. You know, it's not important to have the right sentence structure, to use the right grammar,
Mhm.
whatever, the right word. And you can start like do, make, you know, thing. It's totally fine because at the end of the day, you understand each other, right?
Yes, exactly. I think that's what's important.
Hmm, alrighty. And let's talk about, I'm not quite sure if you are comfortable with that,
Mhm.
but you said you're in debt because of your master, right?
Mhm.
And did it pay off in the end because you get a higher salary?
So, are you asking if I finished paying off my loan?
No. I mean, it's always the two parts. Either I gonna do a master program and I pay a lot of money,
Mhm.
and what is the payoff? What is, do I get after this master a higher salary compared if I didn't do, for example, the master? That's my question.
Yes, I think it does make a difference a little bit because you always have an edge over a person who doesn't have a master's degree because you can say, oh, I have a master's degree. I know something better than you, maybe. But honestly, I don't completely agree with that logic as well because I feel I have learned a lot just from my work. I think I've learned more from my work than I have learned in my master's. More because your education is always a little behind what the market uses at the moment or what is necessary in the work environment.
Mhm.
So it takes a little bit more time to catch up, I feel. So in for me, I really enjoy working because it teaches me a little bit more. And yes, I think it so and in terms of learning, yeah, but in terms of maybe getting a promotion, it totally pays off. But
Mhm.
for me personally, doing my master's gave me the opportunity to come to Europe and have a better life than I could have had if I was in India. So definitely 100% paid off.
Oh, you really know that this is that you get a better life because you moved over to Germany?
Definitely.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I have more work-life balance. I have a higher salary.
What was your first salary after your study program? Are you comfortable to talk about it? Just
Yeah.
a range?
I was working in the Big Four, so I was between 45 and 50.
For the listeners, Big Four is the Big Four in German Wirtschaftsprüfungsgesellschaften. What is the English word for that?
I don't know.
You worked there. Holy moly.
I mean, it's a audit consulting advisory firm.
It sounds sexy. I'm gonna take that.
But
But
you
I
have
would, I
one
would
word for it. So
pardon?
in German, you have one word for that.
Mhm.
In English,
Wirtschaftsprüfungsgesellschaft oder Steuerberatung.
oh my God.
Can you pronounce it?
Steuerberatung is the tax advisor.
Exactly.
Wirtschaft, I can't do that one. It's too long.
Wirtschaftsprüfung. Look on my lips. Wirtschaftsprüfung.
Wirtschaftsprüfung
Gesellschaft.
Gesellschaft.
Oh, very nice. You learned something new today.
Yes.
I'm proud of you. All right, Tracy, let us play a little game. If you just think about your study program back over in India or the master, what was your high moment? You were really excited, pretty happy, you feel successful, whatever. And a low moment where you were really down.
Okay. If I have to consider both my bachelor's and my master's. Okay. I think for my bachelor's, it was when I got into the college I always wanted to get in, which was St. Stephen's. Before that, I had an interview to get into the university, basically. And I was informed that I had got admission in another college, and it's a girls only college. And I was a little scared to go to a girls only college. I'd never been in a girls only school either.
I would love to go to a girl only college.
I was really scared because I know how girls are when they're alone.
Meow.
I was so scared. So when I went for this interview, I was like, I really need to get this because I'm so scared to go to the other place. When I got in, I was so excited because it was what I had been working towards. It's what I gave up my dream to become a doctor for. So I had got that. And that was a really big high moment. Of course, going for my master's was also a big deal. But like I said, it didn't process in my head for a very long time. It took me some time. And I think one of my low moments was the first week of my master's because it was a big culture shock for me when I moved to Italy, and it was very difficult. I really thought I would leave and go back home. But I decided that I needed to go out, maybe meet some people and give it some more time to really get into it. And I'm so glad that I didn't leave and decided to give it some time and talk to more people and make friends, because that was what helped me survive.
What would you tell a girl or a man, whatever, if the person is saying, like, I'm too scared to do an exchange semester abroad or even apply for master, which is abroad? What would you tell this person?
What is the worst thing that can happen? That would be my first question. But what if you compare the worst things that can happen to the best things that can happen? It's actually more likely the best things would actually happen. So the best things would you have more exposure, you make friends from all over the world, you learn something new. And the worst thing that could happen is you are homesick, but that would happen no matter what. And I believe at some point, every person should leave their homes and their comfort zones and go somewhere new. Because even if it's just for 6 months, like, you have to live in another country or in another place other than where you grew up, because that's the only way you can grow. You can learn something new outside of what you are used to. And there's this saying I learned, which is development starts outside your comfort zone, which is so true. In your comfort zone, you know everything. You're used to it. You can do things with your eyes closed, and then it gets really boring. But you learn new things only when you're put in a situation where you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what is coming, you don't know your environment very well. And that's when you actually learn the most. And I think there's no fun if you're not learning.
Mm-hmm. It was so powerful words. I would encourage everyone to go back this 1 minute and listen to this again. It was everybody out there who is scared to go abroad. Shut the fuck up, listen to this 1 minute, and afterwards you're gonna apply straight away. Tracy, I love it.
Thank you.
Ah, smart and sexy. Difficult combination. All right, let's head to another topic. And I mean, are there any plans to go back to India, or are you going to settle down in Germany, build a house, get some kids and a dog? What about that?
Definitely the dog. Just kidding. Um, for a long time, I wasn't sure. I like having uncertainty in my life because then I can always take the best opportunity that comes in front of me. So I like having that freedom. But considering the current developments and how the world is moving, I think it is best for me to settle down here. I think that's the best decision for me. It's also what my family would wants. Basically, they convinced me to do this. So yeah, I think my future plan would be to stay in outside of India, but I'm open-minded to new places also, not just Germany. I like having that option.
Mm-hmm. Love that you be so open minded. So it's the future comes, it will bring everything, and let's see.
Yes, you should grab everything that comes.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, let's finish this lovely episode with the following scenario.
Mhm.
After this call, you get up, you want to go to the fridge, get some whatever, frozen yogurt, and on the way there, you slip on an ice cube. I don't know why there is an ice cube on your floor. We don't talk about that, but in the moment you slipped on this ice cube, you suddenly drop into a hole, and you find yourself in the first semester, in the first lecture, and you can see yourself sitting there. And now you have the option to talk to you and give you just one sentence or two, and yes, and then you're suddenly back in the real time. What would you tell you?
Is it my first semester of bachelor's or my first semester of master's?
Let's play this game two times. Let's go for masters and bachelor.
In my master's, I would say you're doing great. Keep going. And I would say maybe do a few more internships.
Okay.
That would be my advice, really. I think that's the best thing about the German system, that you have the opportunity to do these internships between your studies. I never took that opportunity and never did that. And I think that's a really great thing.
Mm-hmm.
In my bachelor's, I would say I have no regrets. I think it's, I would say, I don't know, actually. I'd say you're doing great. Go ahead.
Well, if that is everything,
I wouldn't change anything about it.
sounds great.
Yeah, I think even the worst moments of my bachelor's is what got me to the point where I'm here. So I wouldn't want to change that.
Mm-hmm. Mm, just to come back to the comment you made on the masters, I preach all the time that the people should do an internship. You figure out what you want, what you like, what do you want to work for, what not, what size of company, which branch, whatever.
Mhm.
And also, it increases their opportunity or the chance to get into very cool and interesting jobs.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. I think for me, the more bigger thing was to understand where you actually fit in, right? Like, even in the finance, I mean, I can talk from the finance world, like you do a consulting, VC, a startup, a big four, then you get everything, a full picture, and you can literally make the right choice. I mean, for me now, I have to actually work a full time job for a couple of years to actually understand where I fit in. And sometimes I'm so jealous of the interns in all of my work because I'm like, this is such a good opportunity that no one actually told me about, or I never found out and searched about. And I regret that a lot.
Hmm. I think the most people, especially if they didn't go abroad and stuff like that, they don't realize and appreciate the opportunities we have over here in Germany.
Yes, a lot of opportunities. And also, it's a country that has made it much more easier for foreigners like myself to come and work. So it also gives you a very multicultural environment in your own home, which is so cool.
Hmm. Of
And
course, I have all over the place Indian restaurants, Turkish. All
and
righty.
authentic.
Pardon?
And quite authentic food. Like they are like real Indian food.
Are
So
you going to Indian places here in Germany?
sometimes. But I can cook. So
Oh, I can tell. My tummy. Alrighty. Tracy, it was a pleasure. You're such a lovely lady. You're smart. You can speak properly. And you have so much nice knowledge to share. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. And I hope we're going to see each other soon again.
Yes, I hope so too. Looking forward.
Oh, yes, my tummy as well. Alrighty. See ya.
Bye.